Shalom. All right, let us learn the Holy Torah. Let's see. Turn this on. Good. All right. Okay, today we're talking about these different damage laws and thieves and criminals and murderers and terrorists. Here we're going to learn about what they have to pay if they get caught. All right, ready? Ki yignov ish. If a person steals a shor seh, an ox or a sheep. We'll see if this means anything. And but if I'm sorry, there's a special law about a ox and a sheep. Right? Anything that he steals, he has to pay back. Sometimes he has to pay back double. We'll see. But an ox and a sheep is different. Strange law, makes no sense. A person who steals an ox or a sheep and he slaughters that ox or he sells it to someone else. In other words, if someone steals an ox and they catch him with the ox alive, then this law doesn't apply. Another law applies. We'll see. That's the next law. Chamisha Bokar Yeshalem Tachat Ashor. He stole an ox and he either killed it and ate it himself or he sold it to someone else. So he has to pay 5 times the value of the ox. And what about a sheep? 4 times the value of a sheep. That's the law. Rashi. It's called a kanas, a penalty. 5 times the value of the ox. Omer Rabbi Yochanan said, Ben Zakkai said, that God considers respecting people, even thieves. An ox that it walks by on its feet, the thief is not shamed by stealing it. Lenoso al katav, he doesn't have to carry it on his shoulders. Mishalim chamisha, he has to pay 5 times. In other words, he didn't really have to put that much effort into stealing an ox, and it might be an incentive to him to do it again. So it says, therefore, we have to penalize him specially so he won't go stealing oxes anymore because it's easy. The ox will just follow him. He has to pay 5 times. A sheep that he has to carry it on his shoulders, and therefore it's a little bit more difficult. So we don't have to discourage him as much. So the penalty is only 4 times as much. Hoyelvin did possible because he is already has to sort of shame himself by carrying this on his shoulders. Thief. Says Rabbi Meir, that's Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Meir says, Bo ra'eh kama gadola kocha shel malacha. Come and see how is the power of doing hard work. Ashur shabatla malachto, an ox that he works for his owner. So the penalty that the thief has to pay is more, because the ox is not just the skin and the flesh, and it's also the work that he could put out. So therefore, he has to pay 5. A sheep which doesn't do anything, just sits around and eats, and eventually you can slaughter the sheep and eat the meat and use the wool, the skin. Then we have to pay 4. Okay, 2 different ways of understanding the logic behind this. Now, of course, In the end, there is no logic because this is what God is declaring. It says, but it's a good thing to try to find reasons for as much as you can in the Torah, and while still remembering that the commandments do not depend on the reasons, but by finding the reasons, it makes you more involved in the commandment. It makes it more personal. Tachat ashur, tachat Hashem. Shenan HaKatuv lomar, and the Torah is different. Taught them in order to say, Ein midas tashlumi daled behei, and noheget elo b'shur v'seh. Here it says you have to pay 4 in place of tachat, right? Why did they make it different? The language of the Torah over here. And also because this law only applies if you steal somebody's car. You don't have to pay him back 4 times or 5 times. If it's a truck, you pay back 5. And no, it's not so. Only with these 2 things, an ox and a sheep. Only stealing a sheep and a goat, a sheep and an ox alone. Here's another sort of a logic behind this. Here we had an argument between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan. He gave his reason because it's easier to steal an ox, so therefore to discourage them, they make the fine better. And Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yoshua, he said, God made the punishment for stealing an ox greater than that of a sheep because you cannot conceal an ox like you can a sheep. And therefore, the only ones who steal oxes are people who are really good at it. That's what Rabbi Yeshua says. In other words, only expert thieves can steal oxes. So therefore, the Torah comes to give them a bigger fine to discourage a Gaon Omar. HaGaon, who I do not know who the Gaon is, it must be his teacher, said, Ba'avor hanezek shavo l'bal ashur, yoter miyaseh kibo yachrosh. This is like the second answer, Rabbi Meir, that he gave, because the ox does work for the owner, so it's a bigger loss to the owner of the thief. Therefore, he pays him back 5 times. Now, this 5 times, it's what they call a kanas. It's a penalty. It's a penalty that the Torah gives. It doesn't really make any sense. Next law. What if you find a thief breaking into your house in a tunnel? This is talking about a break-in. A thief is breaking into a vahuk of a mace, and then the house owner hits the thief, shoots him, kills him, ein lo damim. Then he doesn't have to pay any money. Who doesn't have pay any money? The house owner. The thief came in, professional thief, he steals from your house, so you've got permission to kill him. This is according to the Torah. Nowadays, in regular law, I don't think you can do. There's cases even in America where the thief can take the house owner to court, but you did unnecessary damage. But the law of the Torah is someone's breaking into your house, as you can suppose that they mean business. And there's breaking into your house, that they're ready to take your life if necessary. Right? They know it's a dangerous business, and so therefore because they're breaking into your house, so you know that they will kill you if they find you. So you can strike them first. Let's look and see. You see a person who's trying to get into your house. It doesn't have to be in a tunnel. It can be just trying to break through the window. Ein lo damim. And if you kill this person who's trying to break into your house, then you do not have to pay any money. What does it mean, pay money? Ein lo Ein zu ritzicha. This is not considered to be murder. You did not kill him. In other words, not only you don't have to pay money, you don't have to pay anything. You're innocent. Harihu kameis mikoro. A person breaks into your house as he has effectively killed himself. He is already a dead man. The minute that he goes into your house, he knows that he is effectively a dead man. The Torah teaches you, here we have the law that if someone comes to kill you, that you can kill him first. If you know the people want to kill you, then it's permissible for you to kill them first. This person, he just came to break into your house. He didn't come to kill you. How do you have permission to kill a robber? How? It says because a person is breaking into your house. He knows, the robber knows. A person is not going to stand by and watch his money being stolen. A person is not going to stand by while you're taking the money from him and just keep quiet. Therefore, he came ready, prepared. The thief is ready. The thief knows that he's taking his life into his own hands. He knows that that people will go crazy. You see someone taking your money, stealing your money, and who knows what the owner of the money is going to do? People just flip out. And the thief knows that. He's a professional thief, and he knows that people are not going to stand by idly and watch you take away their money. So therefore, he is calm, ready. Therefore, the thief knows that if the owner of the house stands against him, the thief will kill him. Right? And the owner of the house knows this also. So therefore, there's a law that if someone is coming to kill you, you can kill them first. There are a lot of details about this law also. What if you're not in the house? If you see him, what if he already stole from you? He's already leaving. Are you allowed to kill him? Those are details that have to be dealt with. But nevertheless, this is the basic law. And that's what the Das Akanim says. If the thief comes into your house, this implies that only when he's coming derech hamachteret, that he's coming breaking into your house. But if he's breaking into your house by a tunnel or something, but if he comes through some sort of a door, then not so, because he's not coming to kill. He's only coming, right? If you stand against him, he'll run away. But if he's digging that thing, that means he's coming to surprise you. If the Balabais comes before you, then I'll just run away. So if there's a door that's open and he's coming to the door, then you don't have permission to kill him. That's what some people say. There's a lot of different details in this. Okay, same thief. Im zorcha hashemesh alav, but if the sun shines on him, domim lo, and this is all implied. If the sun shines on him, what does that mean? The sun shines on him. If he is a thief in the daytime, we'll learn. No, that's not what it means. It means if it's clear, if it's obvious. Im zorcha hashemesh alav. If the sun shines, it means simply that if you're sure that this man is not going to kill you, we'll see. Rashi says what the example is. Domim lo, if the sun shines on the robber, then and the homeowner kills him, then domim bo, then the homeowner is guilty. Shalem, or he damages him, then he has to pay. If not, he'll have to pay for what he stole. Now let's go back. Let's go. What is this talking about? A lot of details here. The Torah speaks in shorthand, right? The Torah, it's a miracle that we can understand anything. But the Torah speaks in shorthand, and that's when God gave the Torah to Moshe, he explained what these laws mean. So here's a good example. If the sun shines on him, ein ze elokamin mashal. This is only a metaphor. What does it mean? If the sun shined on the thief, you can't kill him. So this is just a metaphor. In barur lecha, if it's clear to you, like the sun, sheyesh lo shalom imach, that the person for sure is not going to kill you, keshemesh ezer, like the sun, shehu shalom ba'olam, that brings peace into the world, kach pashut lecha, so it is clear to you that this thief is not coming to kill you, even if you stand and you resist, then you cannot kill him. How can you know? How can you be sure? A person's breaking into your house. How do you know he's not going to kill you? And so, okay, we had one example that he brought here. If he's coming through an open door and he sees you, you know that he's going to run away. So he's not coming to kill you. That could be. But here is one example he gives that you know for sure if you find a thief that broke into your house, that you know that this person is not going to kill you. Who is it? If a father breaks into the house of a son, if a father breaks into the house of his son to steal money, you know that the father has mercy on his son, and he will not kill him. Therefore, the son has not got a right to kill his father. That's the only example. If a son breaks into the father's house and he knows that he's stealing, then the father does have a right to kill his son. A son will kill his father. God forbid such a terrible thing, but it happens, right? Children get into drugs and things like that. They want to kill their parents for the money, for the money for the drugs. But parents will not kill their children, especially a father and his son. And so he says, then, damimbo, kachayu chashuv. Then, if it's a father breaking into the house of a son, then it's considered like the father is not liable to be killed. He hasn't put himself into death's path. Therefore, the son has no right to kill his father. And if the son kills him, then the son will be guilty for killing his father. Shalem is shalem. Okay, now it's going back. Now it's going back. Now it's not talking about the homeowner anymore. Now it's talking about if someone breaks into a house or breaks into somebody's yard or whatever and steals something, then shalem, shalem. Then he has to pay. The thief has to pay. Before we were talking about the homeowner, if he kills him. Now we're going back to the thief. Haganav Mammon, the one who stole money, has to return the money, but he's not chayav misa. But he is not yes, but he's not he's not the punishment is not death for stealing. Onkelos says nafalt elui. What does it mean? V'lakach lo shita acheres. Onkelos is he translates the Torah. Here we have Onkelos. If the eyes of the witnesses are on him, then he has to pay money. If there's no money, then he gets sold. Here. If witnesses saw the thief before the house owner came, then kishabo balabayat negdo, if the house owner caught him, hitrubo, they warned him, the house owner, don't kill him, then it says damim lo, then the house owner is not allowed to kill him. Shema'acha sheyesh roim lo, since people saw him, eno ganavazeh bo aliskin afashos. If there are witnesses, below yehareg et ba'al. So now we're not talking about the father and the son anymore, the son and the father. We're talking about a regular thief. The thief breaks into the house, and the next door neighbors see him, and they say, "You're stealing. Don't steal." Right? All of a sudden, the house owner comes with a shotgun, and they say to the house owner, "Don't kill him. Don't kill him," and he kills him. Oh, then if he kills him, then he's guilty. Chayav alavim hargo. Then he's guilty. That's what it means. Shalem, shalem. Then he has to pay. The thief has to give back the money, and he's not. But Onkelos looks at it a totally different way. Onkelos is talking about shalem and shalem means that the owner of the house, if he was warned, there were witnesses. They said, "We saw this man. We saw him coming into your house. Right? There's someone in your kitchen. We saw him. Don't kill him. We saw him because if there's witnesses, now the thief is going to run away. He's not going to kill him. There's witnesses that see him. So there's guilty. A completely different way of looking at this. In any case, he has to pay it back. If you find the now we're going back to the ox. If you find the ox or the donkey or the sheep in his house alive, the thief still has it alive, then he does not pay 4 or 5 for the ox or the donkey or the ox or the sheep. Then he pays only twice. He has to pay double. And that's a general law. A thief has to pay double. If they catch the thief with the original stuff, the original, what is it that he stole, and he has to pay double. Here, if they find this in his possession, that he didn't kill or didn't sell the sheep or the ox, then anything, whether it's a sheep or an ox or anything, whether a car, he stole a car, he has to pay double. Whether it's a living thing or whether it's not a living thing. He stole the guy's car, he stole his shoes. Because it says in another place, I'll sell salma, kol aveda. In other words, it says that this applies when it talks about the double, paying the double. This refers to whether living things or inanimate objects. Yishalem shnayim l'reyo, you have to pay double. So it says chayim, you have to pay double. Lo yishalem lo mesim, elachayim or demechayim. You have to pay him back the value of living animals as they are, or you have to give them actually animals. So don't be a thief. Doesn't pay off. And if you are going to be a thief, don't steal oxes or sheep and kill them. Right? You want to steal a sheep, leave it in your house, don't sell it. If you give it away to somebody else, sell it away, then you're going to have to pay 4 if it's a sheep, or 5 if it's an ox. Now there's a whole series of laws of animals that damage other people's things, damages that are done by animals, and also if a person does damages. But here we're talking about the animals damaging. Ki yav er ish sadeh okerem. If Yav'ir, the word Yav'ir in this case means that he eats up, he destroys. If a person destroys the field of or the vineyard, Ki Yavar Ish Sadeh Kerem, he destroys the Ish, and he sends his Vishalach es Bi'iro, he sends his animal, Bi'er b'Sadeh Acher, Meitiv Sadeh or Meitiv Karmo Yishalem. Then he has to pay the best of his property to someone else. He has to pay the best of his property. Just give me one moment here. Just want to look something up. Okay. That's right. That's what it says. If a person allows his things to wreck somebody else's field, then he has to give back the best of his properties in order to pay this back. Let's see what Rashi says. All of this is a language, be'er, yiva'er, bi'iro. What is it? It's talking about an animal. Like anachtu u'bi'irenu. Like it says over there with when Moshe says to Paro, let us go, we and our animals. He takes his animals into the field or into the vineyard of somewhere else to graze, to eat. And the animal damages it in one of these two ways. O bishloch biro, o bebi'er. Either it's by means of sending forth his animal, or bebier. We'll see what this means. What means with eating with his teeth. It means either with the feet or with his teeth. We'll see. The rabbis say, shalahu nizke midrach kavreg. When it says sending, means that he trampled. It trampled the field of someone else. Be'er hu nizke ashen. Then afterwards it says trampling is one type of damage. Another type of damage is damaging with the teeth. Or eating. The animal ate up, my ox ate up this person's grapes or his wheat. B'sdei acher means in the field of someone else. So it says, what do I have to pay back? I have to pay back something. Well, it says, the best of my fields I have to pay. Shamin as a nezek, you estimate the value of the damage. The imbol shalem lo karka, if you're going to give them back land in the value of the damage, yishalem lametiv, so they have to give him his best fields. Imoyanizka, if the damage was, let's say, $100, yiten lo shava sela mi idi cheish. You have to give him $100 worth of the best land. This teaches you shenizken shamim beidit, that you give damages. You have to pay from the best of your field. But a person might think, my animal went. It's not only talking about this. My cow. I took my cow for a walk, and my cow, my ox, and my ox smashed the windows of somebody's car. So the person comes out and says, what do? You smash the windows. I have to pay $200 now for new windows. Say, don't worry, I got a lot of land. I'll give it back. I'll give you payout off in land. So I give him this terrible land. It's full of rocks and things like that. You say, no, that's not the law. You have to give me back really good land that's worth $200 worth of really good land, your best land, not land that's the law. You have to give him back the best. Okay, here we have an interesting law, and there's a very nice long Or HaChaim over here that maybe we'll learn, and we'll see how this goes. Ready? Kitetse eish. If you light a little fire in your backyard, making a barbecue, umotza kotzim, but the fire caught on to some brambles, benechel gadish, and then afterwards it ate up a big haystack, or a kama, another thing like a big haystack, or a pile. What is a storage of wheat, of straw, or a sadeh, or it burned up a whole field. Shalem yeshalem mav'ir et ha'bi'ira. In this case, the word mav'ir means a fire. Then the one who lit the fire has to pay the whole thing off. Okay, this is an interesting law, because a person can say to himself, hey, one minute. I didn't burn my next door neighbor's field. I was making a barbecue, and I have every right to make a barbecue. And it happened that one of the coals jumped out of the barbecue, and it lit some of the wheat, the hay in my backyard. And there was a wind, and the wind blew the hay, and that's what burned up your land. So I didn't do anything. I just started this little fire. So we'll see that it's not so simple. It's not so simple. I mean, on one hand, the person has a good claim, but on the other hand, he doesn't have a good claim because he should have watched his fire. It's his it's his backyard, and he was there. He had a fire. So it says kita eitz, even if the fire jumped out of your barbecue pit or whatever it is on its own. Umatza kotzim, and it found kotzim. It says kardonish. I don't know what that means. It means like chaff. And then afterwards, shalicha b'kotzim, and then afterwards after it ate up this chaff or the brambles or whatever, then it reached to the haystack, or lakama, or the straw pile, hamachuborim, which is joined to the ground, right? You had to cut them off. So not a haystack, but whatever, the straw in the ground, or a field that the fire even reached further, but and it went to a big pile. Here's the big pile, and v'tzorech l'nir ota pam shniya. And now you have to, right? It caught onto this person's haystack. So now you have to, the one who lit the fire has to pay. Even though that I lit the fire in my own backyard, when the fire jumped out on its own, they him by means of these brambles or whatever that it found. Nevertheless, I have to pay. Why? Because I should have protected the fire. I know that the fire is a danger, can be a damaging thing. And because of that, I have an obligation to guard the fire that it doesn't damage. This is going to be a common factor here also, that if a person buys an ox or something, so you have to watch the ox that it doesn't get out of your backyard and go and damage somebody else. And if it does, then you can't blame the ox or the fire on the wind or on natural things. I have an obligation to observe and to limit damages that could incur from things that started in my backyard, right? If they're my things, and I have to. And so there's going to be all sorts of damages. Also, we're going to see with an ox. We learned over here that if the ox gets out on its own, if I should have locked the door better, if I didn't lock the door. These are very complicated laws. It's very wonderful also because it deals with all these details. And the main thing is that this is not written by the rabbis of the generations. It's written by God himself. And the rabbis themselves just debated how is the most effective way to implement this. Here we have a very nice, beautiful Or HaChaim. B'derech Remez, this thing about the fire, says the Or HaChaim, that there's also a very deep lesson over here. The Torah is teaching us, Asher Yisovavu Rashoim B'Risham, Kadei Shit'orer Adam Mitardem Atshina Sichlo. It says it's coming to teach us that evil people can cause damage far beyond the evil that they do immediately. In order to wake us up, and the Torah is telling us that in order to wake us up from our, how do you say, unconsciousness, Habitu haflaga harat, to see how far bad things can go, asher yaviu la'olam, and bring damage to the world. Ki lo levadam yireu, but not only when a person does immediate bad, el yasovu ra l'kol olam, but it could cause bad to the whole entire world. Here, a person just little fire inside of himself, inside of his backyard. It's like the person on the ship, that he's on the bottom floor of the ship, and he decides he wants to bore a little hole in his room. It's his room. He could do it, but he could sink the whole ship because of it. But he says, what's the big problem? I'll just bore this little hole and I'll leave the room. I'll close the room. And so, I don't need the room anymore, but it's going to sink the whole ship. Here's the same thing. A person could do one bad deed, and that one bad deed can destroy the world. Who omru, let's say it says, Kitetse Eish. Hello, Yadata, don't you know? Shetzora ta'am titkaneh b'shem Eish. That when there is pain to the Jewish people, it's called a fire. It's called a fire. And B'tzei b'lomad, you can go and learn from Mishliach Gavriel, from the angel Gavriel, Asher Sha'al Eish Mibein Abadim, that he took, it says, fire from these angels. And this, because of this, it destroyed the holy temple. There's this whole, in the Talmud, in Yoma. He brings it over here, Yoma, and it talks about generally the laws of Yom Kippur. So it says that this angel, Gabriel, God wanted to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, so the angel Gabriel, it said he took, it's very complicated over there what happened, but in the end, the angel Gabriel, he took fire from the other type of angels, and this was what caused the terrible destruction. They said it could have been more, it could have been less if you would have done, we could have destroyed the whole world. Anyway, if one little thing, one little flame can make a whole big. So it says that's the same thing about. So it starts a flame, right? One person does a little sin. Umotza kotzim, and then, and first of all, here he says this is talking about the evil impulse. The evil impulse has the permission from God to entice people to do sins. Well, then it finds the evil impulse finds brambles. These are the evil people. She'enam el kotzim machivim. All they are just brambles, and they make trouble for the world. And it says motza. It says like it says in the there, that will find you. These bad things will happen. Tam mishum the Russia that evil ein lo balim. This is the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. This is the holy Rav Chaim ben Atar. That according to the Baal Shem Tov, he said that he was the Mashiach of his generation. He could have been the Mashiach. Rav Chaim ben Atar. So it says, really evil doesn't really have owners. Ki Adon Baruch Hu, because God, hinehu pakerbo v'hasir adnoto me'alav. What happens is that God just sort of says to a person that desires to do bad. So God says, okay, that's it. You want to do bad? I'm hiding myself from you. He steer panavim, God conceals his face. The person feels that he's separate and there's no God. And whoever he meets, he can do whatever he wants to anybody that he wants to. And the Torah comes to tell us, after God gives permission to this fire, the evil of severe judgment or the Yetzer Hara to do bad things, to ignite these evil people, then and then they nechal gadish. Then evil people can do a little bit of bad, and then after that, that ignites even more. The Gadish did hint at the children, the Beis Rabin, that they don't have any, they're just really small. It says, Shibulas im chavlim, like a little grains of wheat, that avonos hem nitfasim b'tzoras olam. The little children, they're very easily influenced by the world. Right? And it also says in the Pasuk Tehillim, mipi olim yonkim yisar da'oz. It says in the mouths of children and even nursing children, there is power. The children, they were the guarantors that we would do the Torah. And if evil people start to make them evil, then then the fire will burn in them also. We can see this. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but you can see this, especially in Israel, with the education in the schools. In the schools, they took the children, especially you could see in the time when there were the Sephardic came to Israel from Yemen and from Morocco, from Tunis, from Iraq and Iran. So they put them in these non-religious schools, and they just destroyed the children. And the children grew up. I mean, eventually everybody's going to do tshuva, but in the meantime, it was terrible. So it says let's look back in the time of the Holy Temple. Back in there were some people that sinned, and then the children that they're still young, they're easily influenced. So they were influenced also, and they do sins. Then afterwards, it comes to the Kama. What is the Kama? The Kama, this is sometimes it says that this brings the sword to the great rabbis of the generation, the foundations of the world, that they also can be taken in this sin. And why? In order to save the whole generation. Ulahem yikra kama, they are called the standing grains, because it says those komatam tamata, they are the how do you say, the foundations of the city. They are like a tamar, it's like a big date tree. It says that these are the tzaddikim. And then, so that's what it says, that sometimes when the evil people start to do sins, then that catches on to the children, then that catches on to others, it catches on to others, until finally the big tzaddikim are forced to give their lives in order to save the whole entire generation. And then it says it burns up a sadeh, the field. This refers to all of the Jewish people. The loya speako, not just the children and not just the big tzaddikim. They won't save. That's what it was in the Holy Temple. And this lets us know, because there is a terrible day is going to come when there will be judgment, even the great tzaddikim and the great people, and etc. And that's what it says, Shalom Shalom Ba'ir. That's what it says, that he will certainly pay. The evil people, these the brambles, that in the end they will have to pay the price for every one of all the damages that they cause, because there's given power to the evil people. Lizbul shira magia la'am b'chatatam. There's given power to them that they'll be able to bear the punishment that will be given out to them in the judgment day. Like it says, Oy l'Rasha, ra l'shamayim l'brios. Woe to the evil people that was bad to the heavens and bad to the earth. Kamo kama yizbol ba'ad kil kol. How much they will pay for their destruction that they did. Okay, very interesting, because the Or HaChaim, he lived in Morocco. And in Morocco, they didn't have much problem with, people that denied God's existence, like it was in the same time in the European states. In the European states, right, in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, that was when there was Mendelssohn and the other terrible people that they denied Judaism and they denied that God existed, and they warped the Torah and they twisted the Torah. And in Morocco it didn't happen, so much. So he was obviously writing this from like a Ruach HaKodesh. It was a prophecy that this is what would happen. So that's what he says means in the end, that they will all have to pay. This hints at, not only will the evil people be judged and they'll have to pay back, but also the people that they made sin. And also, even more, the one that made them sin. Who made the evil people sin? The Yetzer Hora, the evil impulse. The evil impulse itself is going to be judged. True, God is doing what God wanted to, but nevertheless, it did terrible things. And so therefore, it'll have to be Kil no mushpat charutz, because there's going to be a day of judgment also for the evil impulse. If you remember, we learned in Chassidut, especially we learned in the Monday class in the nighttime, that the spiritual powers of these aspects of godliness, they also have intellect and awareness. And it's true, they don't have free choice in the same degree as we do, but still they do. And when they do bad things, so that causes them to get punished as well. The example is given in the Zohar. The Tanya always brings it, of a king that he wants to see if his son is really strong enough and has a fortitude to be a good leader. So the king hires a prostitute to tempt his son, to see if his son will act like a normal person or if he'll act like a royalty. And so he has to, according to some opinions, that the prostitute hires another prostitute so that the second one won't know that it's the king is hiring her, because he wants to test his son, the prince. So the second prostitute, she doesn't really know what's going on, but she knows that she has a job. She's going to get really paid well if she tempts the son to act in a licentious way with her, which means the son is just like a loose person, which can't have a king like that. And when they started to be kings like that, really, that's where kings ended pretty much. So it says the second lady, she wants to make the king's son sin. She's going to get a tremendous amount of money, if she succeeds. But on the other hand, deep down, she knows that, listen, this is the king's son. If I make him sin, then this is a bad thing for me also. It means that the kingdom has no one to rely on eventually. There'll be a day when we have to rely on the king's son. You can't rely on this person. But on the other hand, she was hired to test him. She has to see if he's really strong or not. If she doesn't give him a good test, then you'll never know if he's strong. So on one hand, she wants to test him to her fullest. So she does everything she can to entice him into whatever it is, to seduce him. But on the other hand, she deep down wants him to resist. So she's got this double job. So the same thing with the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, on one hand, has this job, and it's supposed to make people sin. But deep down, it doesn't want people to sin. And when people do sin, so it also has to pay the price. And just like this prostitute would pay the price, right? You were the one that made my son sin, right? Even though she got a big prize and she got a big medal, whatever, but still the king will always know because of her, he said he wouldn't be able to look at her. Maybe she would even get punished. And that is what it means when the little fire goes out and it can come out and make a big, big burn down forests, burn down. And here in this case, talking about the fire is the Yetzer Hara, and burn down. All the Jewish people destroyed the temple. That's why we have to be very, very careful of even small sins can bring big, terrible results. I hope to see you tomorrow, God willing, 8:15 tomorrow morning. Have a good day with Mashiach now.